What are the chances that the U.S. Supreme Court will intervene on the tariff schedule and say that President Donald Trump did not have the authority to institute the tariffs that has brought in hundreds of billions of dollars to the federal government and caused some concern in the markets, particularly here in Southern California? Jessica Levinson joins us. She's from Loyola Law School, teaches election law there. So, Jessica, let me ask you about the Supreme Court has decided what cases they're going to take up, and that's first on the list, or so it seems to me. What is writing on this, and is there a possibility that the court will say, listen, the Trump administration overstepped their authority when it came to imposing tariffs? The Constitution says that's the purview of Congress.
So I think there is a real possibility that the Trump administration loses this case. I don't think it's absolutely going to happen, but I think there's a real question here. And so you tee this up for me perfectly, because we know under the Constitution that Congress gets to regulate when it comes to foreign commerce and to levy taxes. And so Congress can give some of that authority away in statutes. Here, there's a statute, the International Emergency Economic Protection Act, the IEEPA, and there is a question about whether or not the president has the power to impose these tariffs under this act. Now, no president has ever tried to impose tariffs under this act before, and I think this is a live issue for the court in the sense of, did Congress want to give this power? Can they give this much power? Did they give enough guidance to the president?
What's the possibility, though, of the conservatives on the court being boxed in by their ruling when it came to Joe Biden's decision to, with a wave of a pen, eliminate $1 trillion in student loans? They said that he used emergency authority that was granted to him by Congress. He said it was part of the COVID crisis. It was outside the COVID emergency. And they said, again, the Biden administration ended up losing that case.
We're talking about different statutes. In that case, we were talking about a statute related to education and whether or not the president had the power to cancel student loans. In this case, a different statute and a different question: does the president have the power to impose these tariffs? So I think big picture, it's the same, right? Looking at this legislation, does the president have the power to say there's an emergency and I need to do X? But in terms of the details, I think different enough that you could, that we don't know exactly how this case will go. I will say the lower courts have ruled against the president when it comes to this tariff issue.
And if the court rules against the Trump administration, does he have to, does the federal government have to return the money?
So that's a remedies question, and that I'm going to kind of punt here and say I think that's a mess, and I don't know exactly how they would unwind everything.
Right. The court will also take a look at the Voting Rights Act. There's a case out of Louisiana. Explain that briefly, and how based on what conservatives on the court have said before, we may see a complete gutting of the Voting Rights Act.
So this is the Calais case out of Louisiana. It's now back before the court. It actually was argued last term, and the court kind of sent it back and said, we want to hear arguments again. What is this about? A number of years ago, Louisiana drew its district lines after the census, and they drew district lines so that there was one majority black district. Those lines were challenged, and a judge said, I think it's more likely than not that there is a violation of the Voting Rights Act because there needs to be two majority black districts. Louisiana goes back. They draw the lines again, and then those lines were challenged by non-African American voters who said you took race into account basically too much when you drew those new lines. And so this case brings up this kind of fundamental tension between how do you comply with the Voting Rights Act, which one judge thought likely demanded another majority black district, while not violating the 14th Amendment, that where you don't want to consider race, you don't want race as a predominant factor when you are drawing district lines.
There was some thought that same-sex marriage would return to the court. That's not happening.
I don't think so. Nope.
Very good. Jessica Levinson of Loyola Law School, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.